Good afternoon, everybody, and a warm and hearty welcome to all of us who have joined from different time zones across the world, across the country, of course. And GIEWEC has been doing a number of poetry meets and discussion sessions during this pandemic. We had the esteemed Keki Daruwala with us, we had Professor and poet Bashabi Fraser with us, and we are very, very happy to be talking and reading poetry with Elisabetta Marino this afternoon. So, to begin the program, I would request the president of GIWEC, Professor Sarangi, to kindly deliver the welcome address. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Bashudhara. It's a wonderful occasion to meet each other during the pandemic days. We are honored. Professor Elisabetta Marino has given a kind consent to be with us. Thank you, Elisabetta, for accepting our invitation. Thank you so much. And Elisabetta has been associated with our group, and she is almost an ambassador of India in Rome. And just before the pandemic, we had a great time at her university, Tor Vergata, and a beautiful campus, and she is a great hostess. So, Elisabetta, many, many thanks from India. GIWEC is a destination for the writers, editors, critics, and we have been organizing poetry meet for the poets, old, established, half established, young, budding, all poets. And it's a platform to connect the minds across time zones. It's not only limited to one particular region of India, it is pan-Indian. And even in today, we can see people from north of India, people from south of India, people from east of India, people from west of India. So India in miniature. So wonderful occasion to have poets and to listen to other poets reciting their writings and addresses what they think about poetry. It has a brilliant publisher, and we are all indebted to Mr. Sudarshan Kechri, who is with us, Authors Press, and we have very dynamic, always green at heart, the secretary, Professor Dominic, we all know, and he is giving his more than 100% for the growth and prosperity of this institution like organization. And GIWEC is publishing WEC, an internationally refereed journal, which is all of you have seen, and which is a trademark or the testimony of GIWEC's activities. It's a wonderful occasion that we will be reciting poems. Before that, we have our program will be inaugurated by none other than Professor Elisabetta Marino of the University of Roma, Tor Vergata campus. And in this program, we will also felicitate Rob Hurley as the Lifetime Achievement Award. Thank you, everybody. And it's a wonderful occasion to meet you, to have you in this platform. Over to Bashudhara.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the wonderful and warm and enthusiastic welcome and the start to the program. I would next call upon Professor Dominic, who, as Professor Sarangi said, is the heart and soul of GIWEC, who keeps on giving his best to it and making it, a very, very wonderful place to be in. Over to you, Professor Dominic.
Thank you, Dr. Vasudhara, for your sweet words. Thanks again to Professor Jaideep for the nice words talked about me and my activities. I am very, very happy to see all our poet friends, members, because physically we are not able to meet because of this corona. So with a gap of 3 or 4 months, we are able to meet again virtually. That is something very, very great that only we can do at this moment. And coming to our chief guest, Professor Elisabetta Marino, my relation with Professor Elisabetta Marino started long back before the constitution of this GIWEC itself, because as part of my college where I have been working, I have been editing a journal, and Professor Elisabetta has been contributing her excellent articles in that journal. So that way we have been associated for a very, very long time, and we are very, very close as friends. and this is she has become our member also. That is another thing. She is the only foreigner in our group. No other foreigners are in our patron member. She is a patron member. So that is a very glad news. So we are immensely happy to have her as the chief guest. Unfortunately, we have never been able to meet each other. So I wanted to meet her many times, but unfortunately, you know the situation. I don't know if Professor Jaideep has met her. I don't know. Anyway, we are very, very grateful to you to have you here amidst us. And then coming to a word on Rob Harley. Rob Harley is also our friend, my friend also. Then he wanted to inaugurate the meet, but unfortunately, as I have already conveyed to you, he had a mild stroke. And so he's not able to speak. That's the only reason. But he has agreed to be present by 3 p.m. I have given him the time. And at that time, we will honor him with a citation of the Lifetime Achievement Award. That only we can do. And if he speaks, let him speak. It all depends on his physical condition now. So once again, thanking you, everybody. One word to about our Sudarshanji. We not such a member in our group, we could not have achieved what we have been doing now, because our journal, not only WC, another journal, even though it is not of our Givak family, International Journal on Multicultural Literature, that also has been printed so beautifully. And he himself is taking the initiative of printing it so beautifully, taking very, very minimum charges from me, and then delivering and sending the copies to the contributors by registered person. So much of my labor has been lessened by this great man, my very bosom friend Sudarshanji. So for all Givak family, I express my deep gratitude to him. Once again, thanking you all and welcoming you all. Let us have this meet. Okay, then, over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for that wonderful address. And we are indeed grateful to have a beautiful family at GIWC. I would now like to call upon Professor Elisabetta Marino to deliver her inaugural address. Professor Elisabetta is Associate Professor of English and American Literature at the University of Rome, Tor Vergata. She's the author of 4 monographs, a volume on the figure of Tamerlane in British and American literature, an introduction to British Bangladeshi literature, a study on the relationship between Mary Shelley and Italy, and analysis of the romantic dreams on a mythological subject. She has translated poems by Maria Gillen, collected in a volume. Between 2001 and 2019, she has edited and co-edited 10 collections of essays and a special forum of Journal of Transnational American Studies dedicated to Solling Sivo. She has published extensively on English Romantic writers, especially Mary Shelley and P.B. Shelley, Indian diasporic literature, travel literature, Asian American and Asian British literature, and Italian American literature. To listen to Elisabetta is a treat, because I have heard her speaking on Mary Shelley and the Gothic and Frankenstein at a couple of places, and to listen to her is a treat. Thank you so much for joining us today. Over to you.
Thank you very much. And I really say that I am overwhelmed with joy and pleasure to be here with you. It's really a honor. So I want to thank all my friends here for inviting me. And you said that I have a very strong connection with India. Indeed, I do have a strong connection with India. I've been traveling to India several times, and I really long to go back, because as I said several times, I really feel at home in India. You are so welcoming and so dear to my heart. And now the pun in my university is that I am the Bollywood lady, because they say that and I'm always in India virtually at the moment, but so I am the Bollywood lady of Tor Vergata. Okay. So they poke fun at me, but I take it as a compliment, and I really do. So you were mentioning before the blessings in this pandemic situation, and in actual fact, being able to connect with so many people across the globe, like we have been doing for the past year and a half, has been an absolute blessing. I have never been able to take part in your meetings, for example, because you always, you held the meetings in India, and for me it was difficult to travel and go back. But now I have eventually the possibility to partake, which is really important to me. So this pandemic situation is also teaching us that whenever there is a crisis, whenever there is something bad, apparently bad, there is always a positive side. There is always a blessing in disguise in every situation. So in crisis, there is always an opportunity. Now, when I was invited, I highlighted the fact that I am not primarily a poet. So writing poetry is just something that I've always done in my life, but as a hobby, as something that I actually needed to do. But I'm mostly a scholar, a critic, and I deal with poetry in a different way. And I always devote time to poetry in my courses because my students draw a lot from poetry. And now I will try to elaborate a little bit on that. What is the value of poetry nowadays, and why is it important to teach poetry to our students as against narrative novels? Okay, we always have to do that and also have to do that, but what is the added value of poetry? And I asked myself the question first, and I also asked my students, what is the difference between the poetical world and our life, our daily life? In our daily life, we're constantly pressurized to perform, especially in Italy, we always run, we always compete against one another. I don't know whether in India it is the same, but in Italy, we have a very strong culture of competition, which we are now, as scholars, trying to change, because competition may crush people as well, instead of helping people to develop individual talents. So poetry, on the other hand, imposes a standard pace which everybody has to follow. With rhyme schemes, with pauses, with silences as well as words. It gives everybody the possibility to proceed together at the same pace. So somehow it teaches the idea of community, of the fact that we are all the same in front of maybe, I don't know, an experience that is narrated in the poetry, in the poem, an experience that the poet himself or herself has experienced and the reader has experienced. So poetry creates more and more a sense of community and a sense of sharing. And this is what I always teach my students. And it is interesting to notice how each and every one of them elaborate on the single lines according to what they need to draw from poetry. So poetry becomes like a mine, and everybody can take from this mine according to what he or she needs. And this is something that you fulfill in poetry much more than in a novel, in any other narrative forms, because of the silences in poetry, because of what is hidden behind the lines, because of all the innuendos, and each person relate with those innuendos in a different way. Another important asset of poetry, in my view, is that it enables the writer first and then the reader to elaborate single individual traumas on paper. And this is what I experienced, that I've experienced in my life. Every time I felt really under pressure, or I was undergoing an ordeal or some emotional situation, I resorted to poetry, because poetry gave me a shape. It gave me some kind of exoskeleton, something that gave a shape to the turmoil, to the trauma, to the feelings of imbalance and pain also that I was experiencing. And I obviously write poetry mostly in Italian, but when my mother was sick, and that happened 8 years ago, my mother passed away on the 12th of August 2013. But when she was exactly in this period of the year, and it was we were going through her last days, and she knew that, and we knew that, I resorted to writing poems in English. Why in English and not in Italian? Because writing in a different language was also a way of distancing myself from what I was feeling. I was trying to give a shape to my pain using a language that could allow me not to be so involved, not so emotionally involved. So I learned actually from this experience, and whenever students ask me, because I have a very good relationship with my students, so even when they go through crisis and personal problems, they drop me emails, they come to my office hours, and they ask me, what can I do? Please help me. What can I do to heal, to help myself to heal? And I always tell them, write and write poetry. And if you feel like, write it in a different language, because by so doing, you will consider the pain as something far away from you. And you will be able to look at the pain and also look at the beauty of the pain. Because in every traumatic situation, in every ordeal that we face in our life, in the most horrible moments in our life, there is always beauty. There is always something valuable that we can take and will constitute, will create some kind of bricks on which we will be able to build a better life for us and for the people around us. And I would like to conclude my short introduction to this beautiful kermesse of poetry by reading one of the poems in English that I wrote for my mother when she was about to pass away. And this is entitled Your Arms. And if you think of the arms of a mother, I am sure that just by the title, a lot of images will come to your mind. The arms of a mother are the most important thing, are the most welcoming environment. And is like a safe haven where you would long to go back. So your arms held me tight when I was a child, a harbor of safety, a haven of bliss, the source of my strength, a halo of love. Your arms were a wall when I was 16, a barrier of rules, two angular lines, strong sails of a mill doomed never to cease. Until now. Your arms now are so thin, like prickly stems of our sick rose bush, the skeletal wings of a wounded sparrow, and I build a nest inside my heart for you to rest, be cared for, and heal. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Elisabetta, for that beautiful address and for that beautiful poem. You literally took us inside the world of poetry. You held a lamp for us to see poetry as it is. And particularly what you said about the pace of poetry and how that is very important today, to kind of grid our lives, to kind of, offer a rhythm which is different from the competitive lives that we are leading. I believe that will be very, very relevant for all of us. Thank you so much for pointing out how poetry not only talks about the pain, but also points out the beauty within the pain. That was a brilliant address. Thank you very much. We move over to the next part of the program, much awaited. Robert Harley is with us, and we look forward to felicitating him. I would like to call upon Professor Sarangi to talk about it while I share the award on my screen. Over to you, sir.
Is Rob Harley around?
Yes.
Hello.
He's here.
Hello, Rob. Hello, Rob. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Nice to meet you all.
Hello. It is wonderful to see you, and all our prayers, healing prayers to all your strength and prayers for you. Get well, everything should be fine, all right. Yeah.
Thank you.
And we are honored that Robert Maddox Harley is with us, a painter, artist, writer, and whatnot, and a true ambassador of India in Australia. And he is the co-author with me. We together came out 7 anthologies of India Australia collections. He collaborated with Dominic G. with Lott, and reviewed many Indian writers in different journals in India and abroad. Over to Dominic, sir, for introducing Rob Harley. Yeah.
Thank you, Jaideep. Very glad to meet you. Very glad to meet you, Rob Harley, sir. So it's a long time. We actually wanted to meet each other for several occasions, but there was no time. So anyway, it is fortunate that you are with us, and we would like to, if you are in a healthy situation, we would like to hear some words from you, or minimum read 1 or 2 poems, and that way enlighten us. So we are very happy to have you amidst us, and it is really a great pleasure and honor for us to award you, give us a Lifetime Achievement Award for the year, because you deserve so much, because your contribution to Indian English literature is so very rich. We have experienced it for several years. So you have been reviewing and writing essays and articles and so on Indian English literature for several years. So that way you deserve our honor. So we are very happy to award you this Lifetime Achievement Award. Kindly accept it, dear sir. We want to hear from you now.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I'm very humbled by this award. I'm not sure that I really deserve it, but you think that I do. And I have done a fair amount of work and very much enjoyed working with the Indian people. It's quite extraordinary how art and poetry in your country is revered and thought of as something worthwhile, whereas it's a very hard slog in Australia to get things published, and where sport is more the thing. But I've very much enjoyed working with Indian people and hopefully continue to do so, particularly with Jaydeep and with Sunil Sharma. We've done quite a few books together, and of course I wrote a chapter in the book, your book, Dominic. So all I can say is thank you very much. I'm humbled and honoured to receive this. So that's about all I really want to say. If you'd like me to read one poem, I'll read you a poem. This is a experimental poem, and it's supposed to be fun. It's not serious at all. And for all lovers of Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland, you'll probably enjoy this. It's called The Red Queen. The Red Queen stands aloof, commanding her subjects with shouts, mysterious in her gaze, compelling in her countenance. Agitated, she invites the Mad Hatter to lunch. Bring the red tea and a menu now. What are the ingredients of rabbit pie? She screeches sourly. Sugar, water, salt, salted plums, thickener, tomato paste, food acids, garlic, ginger, rabbit on the bone, dripping, flour, flavour enhancer, 621, caramel. The tension rises, looks are exchanged. Exclaiming rudely, the Mad Hatter shouts, "I do not eat rabbit pie." Then, off with your hat, and then off with your head. Remember what the Dormouse said, feed your head. Thank you. That's it.
Wonderful, Rob. Wonderful, wonderful poem.
It's supposed to be fun in these hard times and trying times. It's supposed to be a fun poem.
Thank you. And now formal reading of the citation by Bashudhara Roy.
Thank you, Rob Halley. And just for everybody, I would like to read out a formal brief introduction, as also the citation that GIWC confers on him. So Robert Halley is an artist, editor, poet, short story writer, reviewer, and researcher born in Sydney, Australia in August 1948. His academic work involves research into the philosophy of transhumanism, artificial intelligence, and the nature of embodiment. His formal studies include comparative religion, philosophy, literature, and psychotherapy. He has been doing research on Freud's notion of the subconscious and its relationship with surrealist poetry. His art practice includes drawing, sculpture, and recently, digital images, both for the web and print. His writing work includes reviews, academic essays, and experimental poetry and short fiction, some co-authored with computer programs. These have been published in numerous journals, magazines, and books. He has also published 3 volumes of his own poetry, Scratches and Deeper Wounds in 1996, Mechanisms of Desire in 2012, and Winds of Infinity in 2016. Robert's main concern has been to explore and document the radical changes that technology is bringing about. He has coined the term technometamorphosis to describe this. His artwork and selected writings are available on his website, www.maddoxharley.com. And GIWC is very, very proud to felicitate him for his continued dedication and promotion for Indian writing in English. This award is presented to him on 8th August 2021, today, at this very, very special GIWC Poets Meet organized in his honor. Thank you, Rob Halley, for being with us and for inspiring us with your wonderful journey towards more and more writing in the world.
Thank you so much. Thank you again. Thank you.
We move over into the next leg of the program, which is the poetry meet that we have all come together for. And to begin the meet this time, as was suggested, the poets go in reverse order. It is reverse alphabetical order, as was suggested in the GIEWC group. And we begin the session with Dr. Vijay Kumar Roy. Sir, you are not audible. You have to unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, all the poets. So we are happy again to meet all the poets after April. So the title of my poem is Love Begets Love. Love begets love and strengthens the oldest thread of oneness. Sometimes we say it the same blood. Sometimes Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Many invaders damaged this thread along with some internal traitors. Many of the same deoxyribonucleic acid try to weaken it again. SAMs pretend to be patriots. Hypocrisies dominate integrity. Divisive policies and engineered crimes have become steps towards higher positions and powers. Aggressive nationalism has defeated humanism. Questions are silenced with threats. Intellectuals are treated as imbeciles. Fear has enveloped the region. Wars have inactivated actions. False dreams have ruined the nation. Democracy is often made mockery. Still, a hope for a new order is alive. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you so much. That was a wonderful poem. And we next move over to Dr. Shubha Dwivedi. Dr. Dwivedi, are you here?
Yeah, thank you, Vasudhara. It's my pleasure and privilege both to be a part of this office gathering. And I'm extremely grateful to my late father, Professor S.C. Dwivedi, patron member of GIEWC, for introducing me to this wonderful family, which I'm going to address today with my poetic expression. And now I take everyone's permission and extend a hearty greeting to all the senior members, as well as my contemporaries and juniors, and begin my poem. The title of the poem is Anamnesis. What you taught me was only the half-truth. Now, looking for the remaining truth of the matter, I question and verify the veritable facts that were handed down to me by the previous generation academics and scholars. I recall being informed that the archetypes for women were no other than Draupadi, Sita, Shakuntala, Savitri, who lived in the shadows of their counterparts, whose existence was made conspicuous by their obsequiousness, who faltered and failed in their roles as women, when they raised their eyebrows in disbelief, yet reached the pinnacle of womanhood with their services and submission, through execution of duties and deference to the unbreakable code. Kunti, Gandhari, Amba, Madhavi, Hidimba, endowed with intellect and grace, remained an enigma for the people of their age, succumbed to servility without showing their rage. Living in the present-day world, I wonder what they would have wanted for themselves, love of home and hearth, or some simple pleasures of the world, or just a will to subvert the stereotype. What were the echoing sounds behind their sobs and snuffles? Wish they could cry their heart out and speak up their mind. In a world submerged in adharma, they epitomized virtue and uprightness, absolute sins that brought eternal damnation for the female in generations thereafter. Wish they had known that the truth was delusional, like the archetypal golden dare or Marichika, that the man-made world was an ornamented gold-gilt pot, covered with a lid. What lay underneath was a story full of secrets, riddles and mysteries, reeking with blood of the silent sufferers waiting to be redeemed. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you for that wonderfully powerful poem. We move over to our next poet, Mr. Sudarshan K. Cherry. Over to you, sir.
Good day to the DigiCentric fraternity. Today's Lifetime Achievement Awardee Rob Harley, Elizabeth Marino, my friend and motivator and the person, because of him, I'm just contributing literary world, who motivated me and consistently motivated me, none other than Professor Jaideep Sarangi ji. Also, the giver secretary, K.V. Dominic, Professor Vijay Kumar Roy ji, Basudhara ji, the host, the consistent DigiCentric initiator, holder, and without you, without expressing gratitude to you, we can't be in this fraternity, in this DigiCentric podium or venue, whatever you will call it as. So consistently, you are. That is a talent of a younger generation. We are all those who are not aware with the kind of facility you are providing, and Professor Alexander Raju, Padma Priya ji, and all others who are there as poets. Unfortunately, I am not a poet, and obviously I am trying to convey my subject, which is not pandemic for me. It is two points of once upon a time in the scriptocentrically we enjoyed the driven and oriented. Now two sides of a coin. In another paradigm we are in. For that system need the interruption to understand what is a phenomenon. It's a phenomenon for me, so that we can have the facility more viable, not sustainable, more viable. That is the reason I don't want to bifurcate either a poetry or a prose. I call it as a poipro. Let me have the poipro with small pieces without having the elaborate literary interpretation. Let me recite. And my friend and K.V. Dominic motivated me and motivating me. Don't lose the kind of motivation, because we jointly invented, rather it was my motivation to him, multiculture. That was my, I told him to start a journal on multiculturalism. That was so essential about 10 years back. Now there is no multicultural, only one culture. How we can invent ourselves for, survival, to struggle for survival, for paradigm entry. This is a paradigm entry. Firmly believe it's not at all a paradigm. This pandemic, it is a phenomenon, and in the phenomenon we have remarkably contribute without losing any gravity, and that also. And I should express gratitude to Rob Harley. One anthology we made it, sir. That is India Australia with Sunil Sharma ji, and I hope you will remember it. That was a step which I entered to understand more deeply into the multiculturalism. That is why, and he's the chief editor of this multicultural journal. Then I told him you should not leave this label multiculturalism. That is why we are running a journal which is multicultural journal. Yes, obviously. Now let me have the small pieces of poipro. This is actually, it's a coming anthology. It will be brought out. I'm using being and beyonding. Beyonding word might be very new, maybe obsolete, or to be identified by the literary fraternity. I'm using beyonding. Being and beyonding my area, which I usually convey almost every day, maybe whenever I get stuck up somewhere, to liberate to my caring conscious. You alone addressing the role consciously to emerge for a system within and beyond for beyonding or being. I don't know. So be is familiar or not. Beyonding is also familiar or not for the literary fraternity, even though I have to express like this. Having a publisher, I have to be in the system because this DigiCentric opportunity availing. I thought about that. I have to express gratitude, the facility which is abundantly coming to me, because the person was moving around for this to literary, grabbing rather. When I entered at the age of 23 in the literary world, unfortunately he's no more. T.V. Reddy ji, when I was only 23 years, from there onward, I published him 1987 when I joined in Indian publishing, like Kamala Das, Mulkaraj Anand, Amrita Pratham, Darshan Singh Beni, they're all by personal relations. So there onwards, TV Reddy ji and my relation started about 35 years. He's no more. And we usually, very frequently, we used to call and share the concerns, which is cryptocentrically driven and oriented, adapted information, which is not adequate enough to transform the system. That might be the reason, the phenomenon, like Professor Alexander Jai came to, India and very much, occupied with the Kerala. Even I am also trying to migrate, not migrate, obviously I should say migrate because that was my route. In this lifetime, I have to go back to Kerala sometime feeling I have to. Maybe it is already started. So why it is? Because it is possible. It is possible because we are digicentric fraternity. We are just netizens. We are no more citizens. So no, it's a narrow concept. It's a boundary oriented. We raised all the boundary for long back because it was essential to evolve further. That is the reason. I recited one small. Obviously, everything is small, very tiny, micro. Oh, phenomenon! You are touching within and beyond for beyonding. You are the participant touching from the flow restricted. You are exploring visible context for a viable flow for beyonding. My concern is always beyonding. If beyond is there, why not beyonding? You are the transition for a shift, think, act, and discharge, O being. I think this is enough. The 4 or 5 small cubicle, message and conveyed for those who are groomed. Obviously, I'm a part of that. It's cryptocentrically driven and oriented world too. We have to express gratitude to another fraternity. For that matter, for me, it is a being. For that, everything is a God. Shall I say, Google God? You are not interrupting the flow, allowing us to participate wherever the classroom, carriers, teachers, learners have some obstructions or interruption to understand. Lord Google is there. Lord Google is telling, with 50 years of learning, in 5 days you can carry if you are having the aptitude and aptitude. So I am calling Google is also God for me. It's a phenomenon for me. If you are having the aptitude within you, you can absorb, self, and that is a phenomenon. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir, for that wonderful poem, for that rich linguistic experimentation, and also for, finally telling us about Google God who allows things to be done these days. Thank you so much. We next move over to our next poet, Dr. T. Srilata. Dr. T. Srilata, are you here?
Yes.
Over to you.
Good afternoon to the August gathering. I'm very glad to share this hot but beautiful afternoon with the esteemed poets across India and the world. The title of the poem I'm going to share now is The Most Adored Sari. The poem goes like this. An amazing fabric of 6 yards, matchless to women in all regards, wraps around in a caring fashion, reflects completeness and tradition. The art of draping, inimitably antique, the alluring style, agelessly unique, enhances worth and grace of the wearer, delights the eye of many a spectator. Folded in many artistically layered pleats, winds round the waist and fondly greets the chest with extended folds at the best. Pretty outfit fittingly keeps men of rest. The romantic attire in its noble elegance, variety being its incredible essence, gets reverential adoration and attention, suits every occasion and celebration. Its loose end, useful in course multiple, while cooking and cleaning as a principle, a cozy blanket to the poor's tattered wares, huge courage to drive away kids' nightmares, hides from the sun and helps a runny nose, handy tool to twine and smash tensed doors, a treasure of numerous mysterious secrets, hiding place for a child's teasing regrets. Caused the Mahabharata battle of envies, taught real devotion to Gopala's gopis, a woman's second skin and convention signifies the nation's profound conviction. So, this is my poem on the sari, which is mostly adored by Indians in particular. Thank you very much for your patience here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that beautiful poem where you talk about the functional features of this beautiful fabric. Thank you.
Thank
We
you,
move
ma'am.
over to our next poet, Mr. Sridharan. Mr. Sridharan?
Now I am audible. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
Good afternoon, everybody, and congratulations. I, from my bottom of heart, I congratulate Professor Dominic G, Sarangi Ji, Basundara Ji, and Alexander Ji, and everybody who has gathered here. And my poem, I am directly going to my poem, Low-Lying Areas. Low-Lying Areas. Poems move fast in search of emotions of low-lying areas where tears look face to face for the bread of the day. Poems move fast in search of emotions of low-lying areas where tears look face to face for the bread of the day. No problem of relaxation nor lift of curfew clamor. No problem of relaxation nor lift of curfew clammed. The lowness is because of non-consideration of income and no upper age limit. The lowness is because of non-consideration of income and no upper age limit. A walking stick clears the way of palpitations of thoughts. A walking stick clears the way of palpitations of thoughts and purifies entire areas where helpless stones are made mere witnesses, and purifies entire areas where helpless stones are made mere witnesses. Every day is started with good morning. Every day is started with good morning. And who bothers whether it is good or bad in the flow? And who bothers whether it is good or bad in the flow? Poems take the painstaking hearts for consolation by the rhymes and rhythms and collect the disabled words for unraveling the mysteries. Poems take the painstaking hearts for consolation by the rhymes and rhythms and collect the disabled words for unraveling the mysteries. Love listens the whole episode of pathos from the corridors of affection. Love listens the whole episode of pathos from the corridors of affection. As extra time is not allowed, morning walk takes a U-turn. Morning walk takes a U-turn for the evening, asking who will wake the pavement dwellers up. As extra time is not allotted, morning walk takes a U-turn for the evening, asking who will wake the pavement dwellers up. Let me thank you now. Okay.
Thank you, sir, for that very poignant last line. Thank you. We move over to our next poet, Dr. Sangeeta Mahesh. Dr. Sangeeta Mahesh? Yes, ma'am. Over to you. Ma'am, you have to unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. Now I'm going to read the poem, Need of Universal Brotherhood. Am I properly audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Religious disputes, power game, hatred and hostility, bigotries and clashes, chaos all over. It's increasing day by day. Where would it end? It's time we need universal brotherhood. This word is like a cooking pan, and feelings are ingredients to prepare a sumptuous dish. We need the ingredients of love and harmony, not anger and resentment. We have to fight with our own ego, not with others. It's time to lit the candle of love in the darkness of fear and hatred. It's easy to love God as God is perfect. It's easy to love God as God is perfect, but the need is to love God's creatures with all differences and imperfections. Love, acceptance, forgiveness are not weaknesses. Love, acceptance, forgiveness are not weaknesses, rather weapons of empowerment. These values will empower all elements of nature, thus empowering the universe and making it calm and beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for that very hopeful poem. We move over next to Dr. Poonam Nigam Sahai. Dr. Poonam, is she here? In that case, we will have Dr. S. Padma Priya.
It is my privilege to read my poem before this august audience. The title of my poem is God's Love. God's love will never fail. Whatever be the weather, trust God and set sail. In the most perilous seas, when our ship is caught up in a gale, He is the loving Father, in virtue and kindness a brother. He does not bother about your skin color. He does not bother about your gender. He does not bother about ideology. He loves everyone for their individuality. He does not ask for your region or religion. He does not care for your caste or creed as you proceed on your lonely journey. So look ahead with fortitude. You shall never be a destitute. His gentleness will be your prop. Goodness is God. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Padma Priya, for that immensely beautiful poem. We will next go over to Dr. Kavita Gopalakrishnan.
Good afternoon, everybody here. It's such a pleasure, but I'm equally nervous to present for the first time a poetry in Quebec in front of such celebrated and illustrious poets. I'd like to place on record my thanks to Professor Dominic, who said that I must do justice to my name and speak out and recite a few verses that I've written, and I just gathered courage to read out a few lines that I've written. Thank you, Jayati sir, for giving us this opportunity too. And thank you, Basantara ma'am, for beautifully moderating the session. My poetry goes like this. All of us, we all have our own signature. Apart from our assets and our relationships, something that we very proudly and very emphatically call ours is our signature. So I just spend a few lines on my signature. Hope I make some sense to all of you. I recite. My signature, that is mine. They say your signature reflects you in a big way. Really? In that case, I need to have a dialogue with the cursory strokes that mark my absent presence. Get to know one another and fathom what they mean to each other. I sign, I gaze, I brood. My signature pitches on the letters of my lullabies and takes flight in the borrowed robes. A misfit, but very me. The letter of unconscious blends into the folds of these robes. Alchemy, a precious finding on which I take the flight. Not gifted, not borrowed, now not foreign, but very me. Now, why they say what they say, my signature does reflect me in a big way, bearing my signature in its sinews, signifying what I'm today, evermore when I'm nevermore morrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that wonderful poem. We next move over to Mr. Kasturi Sivaprasad.
I offer my best regards to each one of you on this occasion. We know that nature plays a pivotal role in molding our lives. The waterfall being one of the beauties of nature, it being one of the multifaceted forms of nature, I want to describe it in my own words. The poem is titled The Waterfall, and I'm going to read the poem to you, dear audience. The angel, the descent from heaven, the dignitary, the angel's god, the cascading star, the foaming mirror, the bride rushing to hubby's palace, the mother cow with milk shudder, the eye-feasting host that stretches friendly hand, the sympathizing friend, the empathetic power, youth's loving spot, the spark to love, a streak of lightning, the deity tutelary, the might, awe-inspiring and breathtaking, that awakens the drowsy, propels the winged, the elevator of the fallen, the waterfall is. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that very beautiful poem. We will now go over to Mr. Rajiv Khandelwal.
Good day to everybody. The poem that I'm going to read today is titled A Lesson. She was a bit older than me, but looked younger when she came to take classes on textual study of any 4 love poems. She wrote romantic love poems, and I too wrote steamy love poems. When she took classes on further explorations into poems of love, we began probing our penned poems, deconstructing, discussing, analyzing with an eye to poetic devices, infusing poetic energies into each other. With shared interests, we slowly warmed to each other. It was comfortable and fun to be with each other. There were times when we felt a bond of sorts, thick as thieves. Primitive urges started sprouting like unwanted wild weeds, hoping we could be in union like grafted plants. One ominous day, the dreamt for, desired soulmate introduced me to the man she wanted to marry. That day, I fully discovered the meaning of a love poem, acquired the skill to approach a poem of love. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Our next poet is Dr. Jaideep Sarangi. So you have to unmute yourself.
It was really wonderful listening to all beautiful poets reciting. I have a small poem this evening. From the woods. From the woods I arrived in the city. Gas, cruel faces. taking stock of my being and my size. I arrived among women who sought themselves in me, as if I had lost them. And so he went on happening, the impure man, child of the pure child, until nothing was as it had happened. And suddenly there appeared in my face the face of a stranger, and it was I. It was a growing I. It was a growing you. It was everything. But we changed. We no longer knew who we are. At times we remember, and one who lives in me, us, we ask him something, perhaps to remember us, to know at least we were he, that we speak with his voice, where the rain is born. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for that very beautiful poem. We move over next to Professor K.V. Dominic.
Thank you. The title of my poem is Lifespan of Humans and Birds. O Supreme Being, the Almighty, Creator of all beings on earth, how beautiful are your birds, feasting to our eyes and ears. Their tweets and chirps, no doubt, make you happy. But their lifespan is very short compared to us human beings. Couldn't you grant them longer life? Our religions teach us to sing hymns in praise of you. But each religion tries to please its own gods rather than you, Supreme Being. To please their God, some turn terrorists and kill the heathens. Of all your creations, man is the only one who sins against you. His heinous crimes in varieties multiply and find new terms in dictionaries every day. Such a man is claimed by some religions as created in your image. O Supreme Being, what is your image? Why have you granted long lifespan to humans who stab you day after day? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for that very beautiful poem. We will move over next to Dimple Theophilos.
Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, perfectly.
Good evening, all. And here I wish to share my poem titled The Gift of Karma. Karma hides several sovereigns from the path or fleety road. It will hold you or you will pick it up. In my way to reconcile my soul with Christ, I was gifted by Karma, a sovereign. It seems mesmerizing as well. Even I was caught by his fishy shine, tried to mind my diligent thoughts, to peel it off the fishy bark. His glittered outer speaks, the way to escape from inner faults, really sounds the fake as truth. Logic grabbed the gem hidden under the waves in his red wine. Don't know whether the mask made logic a burglar, but there's the heart, crown of your epitome to hitch it back and polish. Thus, your life really sounds the elegant truth in you. I love to bid you by my sovereign by lifting you a left-hand shake. I love to bid you by my sovereign by lifting you a left-hand shake. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you for that beautiful poem. We next have Dr. Bhaskar Roy Burman. So you will have to unmute.
My poem, the title of my poem is The West Wind. The sweet breathing west wind on the day gentle and tranquil, played through the trembling air, a loving spirit that softened over me, stranded on the banks of a stream flowing by in a majestic grandeur. The sun's beams shining hot and bright, the beams bathing in a flowery hue through the overhanging leafages, coruscated on the stream. The west wind was blowing over as it was over me, the stream taking on a kaleidoscopic splendor. The atmosphere far from the madding crowd, I exposed myself to, of my own volition, a misfit in social and family life, transported me into the mythological world in which the west wind appeared zephyrus and mesmerized me into visualizing a meadow by the side of a river. My eyes rested on a silhouettes of women of exquisite beauty, the color of bronze, not of the present, not of this country, who stood against the very colored manifestation of the flowers they were plucking and weaving into garlands. Suddenly my eyes darted round to a lonely woman, flower bedecked, who looked a princess and a bride, waiting for a lover to marry her. Fleeing the palace to the desolateness of this moonlit place. The weaving of the flowers completed, her companions handed her a garland. The princess, holding the garlands with two hands, was advancing to me, followed by his companions, their eyes glued in a fixed stare on my face. I was staring, bemused, at them, waiting for the princess from the past, coming all smile to put the nuptial garland round my neck. My wife's harsh voice calling me to breakfast woke me pleaded with sweets. Her harsh voice sounding so sweet to me for the first time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that wonderful poem. I'm the next one in line, so I'll quickly read a short poem and move on. My poem is entitled Losing God. Under the glazing, resplendent surface of your bronze, I sight flashes of human flesh, vulnerable, bleeding, torn. The initiation leaves a wound yawning forever. For in losing a god, much more than love is lost. Walled around the heart, the universe's infinity shrivels up, a walnut rotting from without to within. Losing God, you realize, what else can be won? I have no answer. I offer my faith to the wind, hoping something may be found in its scattering. Thank you. We move over to our next poet, K. Babu Joseph, Dr. K. Babu Joseph.
Thank you for inviting me to present my poem.
It is titled Lylanders. Before reciting the poem, a word by way of introduction. Lyland is a fictional country, fictional land where the inhabitants are all liars. The poem is a celebration of their life. Let me present it. Lylanders. Lyland, a low-profile land of liars, eating and blurping lies drawn from a spectrum of exotic colors. Lyland, a low-profile land of liars, eating and blurping lies drawn from a spectrum of exotic colors. No truth speak by them, even to themselves. They skillfully skirt the Cretan's paradox. So says Wikipedia, the encyclopedia of lies. Trapped in a prism of prejudices, they hardly breathe freedom, taste the elixir of life, trust anyone only to end up as paranoid. None of them can mark their kith and kin, let alone enemies. They enjoy carrying hefty rocks on their battered backs to placate their demanding demons. Lylanders dream an inverted world, beauty as ugliness, ugliness beauty, peace as strife, strife peace, justice as weakness, injustice firmness, ushering in an utopia of obtuseness. Lylanders dream an inverted world, beauty as ugliness, ugliness beauty, peace as strife, strife peace, justice as weakness, injustice firmness, ushering in an utopia of obtuseness. Thank you.
Google Meet about.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that very meaningful poem. We next move over to Dr. Ansulika. Ansulika, are you there?
Good evening. Good evening. Am I audible, Vasudhara?
Yes, yes, you are.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. It's always a pleasure being part of this online meet, and I always look forward to it. The title of my poem is Blank Spaces. Fill in hues of the sky. Some blue, some red, some orange, flash by. Fill in a bushel of green, a bunch of grapes, a lump of soil, a litter of shine. Fill in sweetness of honey, a tinct of love, and a cup of sunny. Fill in bit by bit, keep no blank space within. Fill in a me into the trodden path, a little of my soul filled into the rotten wound, a jest of my skin filled in the mourned wood, and a reverberation of my laughter filled into the lonely home. Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Ansulika, for that very beautiful poem. We move over next to Dr. Alexander Raju. Sir, you need to unmute yourself.
Good afternoon to everybody. I am very happy to recite my poem. Okay, I am very happy to meet the leading personalities of this event, Vasundhara Roy, Jaydev Sarangi, and Dr. Kevin Dominic. Okay, it gave me a chance to meet face-to-face Sudarshanji, with whom I had a couple of telephone conversations. And also, I am very happy to see Rajiv Khandeval and Elizabeth Marino and others. I am very thankful to Dr. Kevin Dominic for sending me the condolence messages at the sad demise of my only sister, on whom I have written this poem. Of course, I wished to write a very happy poem to present such a poem here. But how can be philosophical? How can be philosophic when such a sad things? When hundreds of people every day die in Kerala owing to coronavirus, and how can we be blighted during these days of distress, these days of gloom and grief? Okay, so please bear with me when I recite this poem. The title of the poem is Days of Insignificant Death. So I used to write always on deaths. Deaths were not insignificant, but now in Kerala, you can see deaths are quite insignificant. Everywhere around us, we have deaths. So please bear with me. The poem is like this. It was really heartbreaking to leave her alone in the grave. I thought I heard her soft voice calling me back to her cell side. It was really heartbreaking to leave her alone in the grave. She was the only strong pillar that stood among her 4 brothers, 2 elder ones and 2 younger, gluing them with intimacy. She hoped to live a few more years. For 61 is too short an age to leave this busy world, that she hoped to take rest not in depth, that she hoped to take rest not in depth. Death in these dark pandemic days, in these days of gloom and distress, is a matter of no public concern, but for near relatives, a permanent loss. No true traditional ceremonies, no crying, no prayers, and no tears, as tears dried in their lifeless eyes as they were staring into vacuity. Even deaths of octogenarians were not celebrated as in the past, and the deaths of youngsters remained unsung and unheard. In these days of distress and grief, death is no more of news value. Relatives are so tired of wailing that no tears oozed out from their eyes. Yet their memory will remain young all through these days to come, and her face will shine forever in the mirror of our throbbing heart. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. A very painful and yet a very beautiful poem. As Professor Marino pointed out at the very beginning, poetry helps us appreciate the beauty of pain.
Thank you.
2 of our members whom we had missed have joined us, Professor Lakshmi Shri Banerjee and Professor Poonam Nigam Sahai. And I would request them to read their poems if they are ready. We would like to begin with Professor Banerjee. Lakshmi Shri ma'am, can you hear me? Her video is frozen, as I can see. In that case, Poonam ma'am, if you are ready, we would love to have you read.
Hi everybody. I'm so sorry. We did not have electricity and that was the problem. So can I recite my poem without any delay?
Please.
That would be so nice. Thank you. The poem is A Monsoon Saga. I sit entranced on my terrace, watching the dark clouds gather, rumble and grumble, race each other swiftly by. All on a sudden, the wind picks up, lashing gently on my cheeks, playing wild games with my hair. I close my eyes enwrapped, trying to hold the moment still. Inhaling strongly the life-giving monsoon air, blessed, soothing, and divine in its very form and substance. The scent of the mogra and juhi blooming nearby wafts in, making it intoxicatingly heady with the pitter-pattering rain song, the rustling leaves of the bale tree dancing to its rhythmic beat, making it ethereal and sweet. Oh, the rain pelts down in torrents. I breathe hard, ecstatically, becoming wondrously whole again, fully refreshed, rejuvenated, anew, a pristine soul with an effulgent brain, ready again, minus all the strain. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for this beautiful monsoon-themed poem. We needed that today. And Professor Banerjee, if you are ready, we would love to have your poem too. I can see her, but can she hear us? Lakshmi Shri, ma'am, can you hear us? If she's unable to hear us, then
She requested to join. I think she is there.
she is here, but then she's not responding.
Okay.
In that case, we have come to the conclusion of this beautiful afternoon. Lakshmi Shri, ma'am, we are still waiting for you to connect to us. We can see you, but we are unable to establish a contact with you. I think there may be a network issue at her end. And with this, we have come to this beautiful evening, beautiful afternoon, and we look forward to a beautiful evening now, poetry having set us in the right mood. So I would like to hand over this to Professor Dominic for his formal vote of thanks.
Thank you very much. So it was really a wonderful afternoon. All the poems presented here were marvelous. So excellently they have composed and presented it. Variety was there, and so enlightening, also interesting. So I thank each and every one for making this afternoon very useful one, very fruitful one. Also, I express my deep gratitude to our chief guests, Professor Elizabeth Marina, as well as our Rob Harley, whom we have awarded. So we have been fortunate to have them as our guests here. So in the name of all members of GIVAC, I express my deep gratitude to them once again. Once again, I thank each and every one of you. We will have such Google Meet after 2 or 3 months, because Corona is not going to leave us. As Sudarshan ji says, it is part and parcel of our lives, and minimum 1 more year we can expect to live with it. That is what I assume. So naturally, we will have to conduct such online meets in the future, not only this year, perhaps next year also. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Rob. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
everybody.
Thank you, Dominic sir. Thank you, Vasundhara ji. Thank you, Jaideep sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Take
you, sir.
care.